And joining us now, the other staples of the 10 o'clock news, Bill Martin, former sports director Mark Ibanez. You said it was tough just walking in the building 20 minutes ago. Your love for Dennis. Tell us more.
Well, I thought I was going to be okay driving in, you know. Today has just been a flood of emotions and memories, and then walking through and seeing where he used to sit and all that, you know, just all over again. But Dennis was, in short, the big brother I never had, you know, and the guy who taught me how to be a professional, not so much as, you know, him giving me lesson A, B, C, and D, but by watching the way he acted in a newsroom, the way he set the tone at Channel 2. And, you know, I'm a sports guy, so analogous to sports is he was like a quarterback.
You
know?
talked about this earlier, about kind of the evolution of your relationship with Dennis, how, you know, you come in and you're intimidated because he's
Dennis Richmond. Well, it kind of goes from, you know, intimidation to earning his respect to getting a friendship developed, and then to just truly loving the guy. And
you know, it's like that science teacher you had that is a real hard bottom, and he's really hard that first few semesters, and then by the end of the year he's the best teacher you ever had. And I think Dennis was like that. Dennis expected us to play hard and play well, and there was no room for not.
He didn't suffer fools.
No.
And you had to earn that respect. And along those lines, I was telling Mike about this earlier. I was kind of notorious around here for wearing I'm not really a suit person, so wearing a sport coat and tie from the top and then wearing shorts. And the first time I tried that little gimmick, you know, people forget Dennis had a military background, you know. Yeah. And I remember walking onto the set, and he gave me that stank eye look from the other end of the desk, like, oh, hell no, you're not wearing shorts.
But he also had that personality, right?
And that is a glimpse of his mischievous side, the other side of Dennis that didn't come easy, you know.
The outtakes,
yeah,
right?
And that was us taking a big, important promo shot, and Dennis wanted to make sure my tie was askew.
I think I always learned the lesson from Dennis as a young reporter to just be honest with the viewers, with your coworkers, and then also appreciate the little things. Like, he would take that, he would always be out here 10 minutes till, and he would pass my desk, right by your old desk.
Right.
And he would just, you know, tap you on the shoulder, you know.
Okay, you ready?
Hey, you ready? It's game time. Or come back the next day and he would lean in with his deep voice and go, nice story.
Yeah.
You know, and little things like that.
Well, a compliment from him is
that's all
a
you need to get me through the next day.
That was the other thing, too. You know, I used to tell people, I still do to this day, Dennis, you know, he had to be at work at 3 o'clock every day. You know what time he showed up? 2:30.
It was early, and I will say, as a morning reporter, when I started here, I would be coming back in the station, and he would be coming back in to start his day, and he would have watched. Like, he always watched, and he always knew, and that standard he held for himself, he held for everyone else. And but you always also felt that he cared. Like, there were times, even after when he gave you a hug, when he tapped you on the shoulder, or whatever he did, it was authentically him as well.
The thing I would say that strikes me, I was talking to Mark about this over in the green room, but today's hard. It's hard for me, it's hard for you, it's hard for the viewer, and it's weird because a lot of times we talk about other people, but we're talking about our friend and somebody who we all have memories with. Every one of us has an awesome story, and then the viewer was connected to him. You talk to people on the street today, and people, I mean, I don't know about your email, my stuff is loaded with people, and they felt the same way. So today's really, I'm surprised. We knew he was not doing well, but I'm surprised that today was just difficult.
We walk around, and I've seen tears in the eyes of various people for various reasons, you know, as we look back, and I was telling you, right, there's all these different levels of how we knew Dennis. And regardless of whatever level you were, you wanted more.
And I was a viewer,
well put.
like growing up here. You know? I was a viewer of Dennis who introduced me into broadcast news. And here we are so many years later. And I told the story earlier about being in this studio when he came back like 10 months ago, not for Julie's going away newscast. And we just sat in here in the studio, the lights down, and he was very proud of what he had accomplished in his career. And he should be, because what he did no other newscaster
Don't you remember
in the Bay Area has ever done or beyond.
When he left, I said this earlier, but the last night, Mark, when he retired, you were there, Julie was there. I remember thinking, oh my God, he's going to be at home and he's going to watch TV and he's
And he
going
will
to
tell
watch
you.
us.
Yes.
I remember that feeling. For the first 10 years, I was like, oh, Dennis is watching. God, you know, you always buttoned it up for him. Always thought I always thought he was watching.
You got to be, because he held the bar so high. And if you weren't ready to come with him, then you weren't coming on for this ride.
And you know what struck me today thinking about it is, you know, talking directly to the viewers about this is, make no mistake, Dennis Richmond in his prime, he could have gone to L.A., New York. He could have been a network announcer. And I really mean this. He loved this area. He loved the viewers. If you ever went to one of the Chinese New Year's parades and saw him interact with the people, he fed off that. He didn't want to leave this community, and we were always afraid of that. Like, is Dennis going to take like a network job?
So you think he felt a responsibility to be here and to deliver that?
And that is something I truly gleaned from him just watching him, is he didn't get angry or disappointed with people because like he had this big anchor ego and things had to be his way. It was because he felt a responsibility to the people of this area to get the story right, not just kind of like, oh, the facts might be right. I mean, there are a lot of reporters, if you gave them truth serum right now, and people behind the scenes that would say, you know, Dennis snapped my head off a couple of times. Why? Because he expected you to be and put in the effort that he did. He never asked you to do anything that he himself wouldn't ask of himself.
Only
He
for
was
us to be
always
better.
right.
Yeah, always.
He was always right. Like I got criticized all the time, right? His weather guy. He hated the weather guy.
And
in the
he knew
beginning.
sports too.
Yeah, but he was always right. Like I'd go home talking to myself, and then I'd lay in bed and go, yeah, probably was right.
He probably was right. Well, and I think that's for people at home that said it seemed like he cared. He did.
Oh God,
he
genuine.
did, and so that
you don't get
is,
away with it for 40 years unless you're genuine and to the bone. He cared about this area. He could have left us a long time ago.
He cared about journalism. He cared about news. He cared about the colleagues. He cared
getting
about
it
everyone.
right.
Yeah, and getting it right. That is the key. Let's get it right.
Dennis Richmond, the best of the best.
Yeah, I love him.
Best of the
Love
best.
the man.
We love them.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh yeah. I have
Of course, you're here, Mark.
Yeah, you think
This is a reunion. Dennis brought you guys back together.
I thought about wearing shorts, but you know,
He didn't like that.
He didn't like it.
he didn't like it. He later put up with it, but I didn't wear socks. So
Well, and
There's always something.
Well,
I can tell you, pardon me, I keep
Yeah.
interrupting, I'm sorry. I can tell you Julie would love to be here, and it's killing her not to be here. We've all talked to her on the phone, and it's just, she loved Dennis, and Dennis loved her. So there's, you know, we all have that relationship.
All right. Well, both of you, thank you for your stories. Thank you for your words.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having us.
thanks, Michael.
Well, KTVU is a long time.